Hey, 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 Gmash speaks here. It is good to be disruptive and challenge the status quo. One of the ex-American presidents, Ronald Reagan, is on record to have said that the status quo is the Latin term for the mess that we are in, and we are in a health and wealth mess. I have experienced both, and so I am speaking authoritatively. I have that privilege to have been in a health mess and a wealth mess. So if you are prepared to participate in your own rescue, if you are prepared to reskill and retool yourself, then be prepared for a huge shake in your thinking and in your actions. I love talking. I love writing. And this too will be the basis of my moonshot project, this particular project I'm actually working on. I do not want anyone to believe in anything I share without first checking them out. I say this because I'm speaking from my own personal experience, from insight and concepts that I've put into practice over the last 3 years, and not just head knowledge or concepts grabbed off Dr. Google or off the internet. I'm currently standing on the shoulders of so many people that I've learned from in the last 3 years, and I'm in such a fantastic state of health due to taking and using the thoughts of these leaders. And it is leading me into an immense position of wealth. A lot of the ideas I'll be sharing are personal experiences. However, not necessarily original thoughts of mine. They are not all original because they are ideas that I found because I was obsessed to reverse my chronic illnesses. I found ideas because I was clear about changing my life and those who give me some attention, essentially those who listen to what I have to say. I found these ideas because I'm a very, very extremely passionate person about optimal health. And I want you all to ask the questions in your minds due to the ideas I'm going to be sharing. I remember very well Steve Jobs, Apple co-founder. He used to say that the best ideas are stolen. You do not have to be the originator of an idea. However, what makes the difference in your purpose is your execution. Steve Jobs didn't create Jack. He didn't create anything. He did not invent anything. All he merely did was he integrated and modeled existing successes around his beliefs. This is precisely what I am doing through my Geemashspeaks series. I take off today on my mission by continuing from where I started in my launch in Dubai. I will start again with testicles. Now, before you go on and say, oh no, not another rant on testicles, please listen to this following profound and true statements carefully, because the next thing that you hear me say could very well be the one thing that can save and change at least 4 out of 5 men and women who you share this with. Now, this is what I want to state, and I want it to go in record, in your mind. Go to bed with this thought. Men who sleep 5 hours a night will have significantly smaller testicles than those of us who sleep 7 hours or more. It doesn't stop there. Men who routinely sleep just 4 to 5 hours a night will have a level of testosterone which is that of someone 10 years older than themselves. What does that mean? It means that a lack of sleep will age a man by a decade in terms of that critical aspect of health and wellness. And the same equivalent, the same impairment, the same conditions or the lack of sleep also apply in female reproductive health caused by a lack of sleep. You will need to permit me on my unorthodox methods because orthodox methods have failed me. They fail me so grossly. And I need to state here that what we grew up in for the first 7 years of our lives have actually failed everyone, essentially. I have used testosterone in my speeches, linking that with testicles, just to show that one aspect of life, just one hormone, can be taken so casually, and yet this same hormone could have severe consequences in our general well-being, in the quality of our lives. I found out through experience that I had a massive drop in my testosterone levels, which in my own case, not my own personal experience, was an indicator of liver fibrosis, as a low testosterone could actually be an indicator to several taken for granted chronic illnesses such as type 2 diabetes, chronic liver, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, otherwise called COPD, other lung diseases, even kidney disease, thyroid, and adrenal gland problems. And we just casually fob it off on an aging problem, or we just say, okay, it's because of ED, erectile dysfunction, which in itself could well be a function of stress. If you're experiencing ED, it's related. It could be related to stress, high cortisol levels, which in itself is a sign of high fight and flight position. Your hands and your legs are ready to kick out to defend you, which in itself is a sign of shutting down and compromising on our immunity. Because once you're in a fight or flight mode, your immunity is compromised. Because what happens at that point is that in order to conserve our energies to fight off the invader causing that stress, we just shut down our immunity. And acute stress in itself means we are in a compromised state. Now, just for a moment, imagine if the invader causing that stress is not a short burst of an external factor such as a road rage, where you find people chasing around other people who have caused them a discomfort while driving, eventually giving out the middle finger, or it could be a panic attack. But remember one thing, when you are in that state, your sympathetic nervous system is constantly triggering off the fight or flight response as a result of something you live with constantly. Now, if it's a constant thing, now that is a concern, and that is what we should look into. Okay, it's a concern. It could be an issue or a trigger such as your neighbor, your business, or the work you go to every day, or it could be your spouse, your garden. You're not in harmony with your garden. It could be your children or any factor you live with on a daily basis. What if this means you are in a fight or flight response more than 70% of the time, which then means you are just one step away from a chronic illness? So can you see where just looking at your testosterone levels and finding out that is low could very well unravel bigger issues? So now I'm just using the state of our testicles as an indicator to a bigger problem. I am alluding to just one hormone at this point in time, testosterone. I'll talk about low estrogen for women. And I'm doing this because it plays a very grossly unappreciated and important role in the body. We know that testosterone is that hormone that offers protection, actually neuroprotection, from different insults affecting our central nervous system. Testosterone helps to improve cell survival. There's one thing we call in the medical field mitochondrial functions. That is, mitochondrial is the energy powerhouse of your cells. So essentially, a lack of testosterone and high levels of estrogen, which if present in your body or when in your body, there is actually an inverse relationship. So you have high testosterone or low estrogen or vice versa. Now, in both men and women, if you have high levels of either of this or low levels, okay, it will be an indication of good health or a lack of good health. In men, testosterone regulates and increases the production of red blood cells. It regulates our libido, our bone mass, the fat distribution, muscle mass and strength. And a drop in testosterone levels over time is more likely to result from a man's behavioral and health changes than by aging. We've assumed that as we age, we should have low testosterone. That is a myth, and we've been lied to in that respect. And on the flip side, in women, low estrogen levels can impact many aspects of a woman's overall health and well-being, including physical, emotional, and sexual health. So low estrogen leading to early menopause may also increase a woman's risk of serious conditions, including but not restricted to heart disease, osteoporosis, that's the softening of bone tissue, and obesity. Now, I'm going to present to us in very simple ways on how we can control and increase both estrogen and testosterone levels for as long as we want to. However, these are lifestyle choices and changes that I'm advocating that we adopt, which will definitely improve the quality of our lives. Okay, guys. So I digressed on the testosterone and estrogen discourse, just because of the lack of these two hormones. I have seen them affecting so many marriages, relationships. I've seen family members getting sick, and they're unable to connect their current illnesses to just these two hormones, testosterone and estrogen. Now, I'm just giving an instance. That is just two hormones I've mentioned. There are a lot more we're going to talk about. So for now, for the benefit of focus, let us head back to why I am doing this series. Now, during my launch on the 15th of February, that's about 15 days ago, today is the 1st of March, 2020. During my launch, and I will please ask you guys who haven't listened to my podcast to check my website. That's www.geemashspeaks.com, or you can go to my YouTube channel as George Mashiko YouTube channel. I did mention that I would like for each of us to have 3 things on our minds whenever I have my Geemashspeaks series published. And these 3 things that I would like for us to always consider as things that we do on a daily basis, but I'd like to put them in a sequential approach or format. These 3 things are this. Each time you listen to my voice, or I'm privileged to have your audience or your attention, I would like you to ask yourself, what do we know now? Okay, that's the first thing. What do we need to know? That's the second thing. And what can we do now with what we now know? That's the third thing. Once you have these 3 elements going through your mind when you listen to me, then you can apply the information that I'm going to share through my experience and see whether or not it applies to you. I'm releasing my Speak series with an introduction to the toolbox. So I've created the toolbox. And in this toolbox, it's like a toolkit. That will be my intention, to provide us with new tools to work with. I have a passion to share this toolbox to lift us out of the lives we have been so socialized into. Now, when I say this, I'm referring to the first 7 years of our lives, up until the 35th year of our existence, for those of us who are above 35. And if you're below 35, well, it's your first 7 years up until your current age. And for me to get effective in doing what I have to do or I'm passionate to do, like I've said in my launch, we need to have a new tribe. And that's a tribe where these ideas will be shared and incubated upon. And when we believe in these ideas and lifestyle choices, we can then pass them on to our children, our grandchildren, our families, our loved ones, our friends, our colleagues at work, just about anyone. Now, this will then become a part of our legacies that we have in ourselves lived out and we can pass on. We can actually will these legacies to our loved ones. It is my passion to share ideas for our minds to consider so that they live in us and we then become people of influence to our areas of social and capital influence. We need to destroy the current limitations in our minds and rebuild a new philosophy, influencing that tribe. And in doing this, it's going to be 80% psychology and 20% of how we do the things we pick up. That is the mechanics of how we do these things. And that's all I'm asking for this tribe to adopt. New information or previously known information processed differently and then applied. And that's 20% of the work. And in doing that, we've created in ourselves a whole new tribe. Okay? So Geemashspeaks is set up to do just that. And this is not an instant gratification toolbox. I need to mention this. It is not your microwave age that we live in now. It is a patient rebuilding of what we have been taught and what we have mirrored from our direct environment. Essentially, I'm asking for us to deliberately change the environment. That's the culture medium that we grew up in. Change the psychology of what we are cultured in so that this toolbox I'm going to share, these mechanics that I'm asking us to apply, will give us the chance to have a different readout of our life's blueprint. Each of us have a life blueprint. Do not believe that you have tried everything till you try out this toolbox and this kit I'll be sharing with us. I'm a believer that when you change your state, that's your mental and emotional states, when you change your culture, when you change your medium, you then change the results of your life. And that is why my popular phrase is, when you think good, you feel good. When you feel good, you do good. Essentially, I'm saying you get the results, the success you want by changing the way you think. So here's my thing. My passion is to uncover what is being used effectively by less than 0.1% of a subset of our 7 billion global populace. And these are people who live in optimal health. I'm going to share this. I'm going to uncover, if I can use the word, the secrets of what they apply without having to financially ransom or bankrupt our lives. You don't have to bankrupt your lives to get to work in these secrets that are actually being used by 0.1% of our world. It is a fact that the major cause of bankruptcy globally, the major cause of bankruptcy globally is tied to medical bills and treatment. So Geemashspeaks is going to give you the platform to avoid you getting bankrupt financially because you want to give yourself optimal health. There is a new trend. There is a current trend now in the health and wellness industry amongst enthusiasts, where we are living off previously held close to the heart or close to the body secrets that are being used by the extremely wealthy and privileged. Some of these are hidden in books, some in transcripts, some have even gone down even to the tombstones. They've gone with them into their graves. These are knowledge bases that when we discover them, when we share them, when we use them and improve upon them, we of essence will create a tribe of people who take their health and subsequently their financial lives in their hands. So I made myself into an experiment. Call it a human guinea pig experiment. Okay. So essentially, I have turned my personal body and my mind into a laboratory. And it is the results of my experiments that I would like to share with each and every one of us. If I could put these ideas or these experiments or these results into a new capsule, into a non-toxic, and make it a non-toxic drug, it will make us all who take these capsules not just healthy, but extremely wealthy. And it will shut down one of the top 4 industries in the world. Yes, it literally will shut down this industry. That's the pharmaceutical industry. So with each Geemash Speaks that I serialize and share, we will continually, and that's my intention, for us to continually improve upon the knowledge and wisdom that I would get, or that this tribe will get, from the wisdom and knowledge from people like yourself. So I'm putting my philosophy into the public space with the belief that we will all benefit and improve on our health as we share and put this knowledge, the individual wealth of knowledge, based on your individual experiences or things you've gained from textbooks or from hearing other people speak. So I would like us to share these things so we can also improve our life quality. That's the essence. But it's important for me, before I go any further, I would like to state the following disclaimers. I am not in any way a medical practitioner. I am not a certified nutritionist. I am not certified in any way or form to prescribe medication or even medical advice. I'm just this guy who was diagnosed 3 years ago, diagnosed not just by one doctor, but by at least 5 qualified medical practitioners, certified and trained in pharmaceutical medicine, also regarded or considered or termed allopathy. I had diagnosis from 5 qualified medical practitioners in allopathy and psychotherapy. 5 medical practitioners who, in my opinion, are amongst the nicest of professionals, with a deep sense of responsibility and commitment to alleviating pain, sickness, illnesses, and diseases with the tools that they were trained in. These are all well-meaning professionals. I need to state here that medical doctors, pharmacists, the guys in the medical profession, you will find that they are one of the nicest people. Soft heart, emotions engaged with their client, and they use their training to alleviate what their patients have actually come to approach them for. So I don't take that from them. Now, each of these 5 medical practitioners are actually approached for counseling or for diagnosis. They independently came to the conclusion that my body and health was riddled with chronic non-psychotic illnesses. I mean, in the form of severe depression and anxiety disorder. And eventually I got put on chronic medications that, rather than heal me or improve the quality of my life, led me into other more severe illnesses that were taking me down the hatch of cancer. And by this I mean liver cancer. And this was due to the extensive use of prescribed medication over a 2-year period. Now, what we are not being told by the pharmaceutical industry is that even medications that are widely available without prescription, so you can go over the counter, Okay, we have in those medications, in many of the cold and flu remedies, for instance, sold in drugstores, as well as prescription antibiotics, or people who have so-called high cholesterol who take statins. Okay, and also pain medications. We have in those medications, those prescriptions, those drugs, elements that over a period of time, when you use these medications, can damage the liver and cause liver cancer. So in my journey, I learned and came up with some facts. Okay. And the fact is that no two bodies are ever going to be the same, and no two bodies can be treated the same way. You can have a black box approach to treating any two people. You cannot use a preordained set of procedures. Okay, well, except for surgical procedures. If you come into a trauma unit, you got to go through certain procedures to alleviate or to help a patient. That's an extreme. That's a trauma situation. However, in your daily prescription of treatment, we've been caught up in this black box approach. Now we can't do that. In my journey, I have, through this journey, been able to come across a prescription drug, okay, called S.E.N.S.E.S.S.E.S. Now, this is a new word. It's used widely globally. It is not available at this current point in time in the marketplace. Used globally by individuals who have realized that they are like a huge filing cabinet. If I use the metaphor, they're like a huge filing cabinet, similar to what we have in our offices or in our homes. Now, this prescription drug called S.E.N.S.E.S.S, I would like to share with us this drug, this capsule that needs to be taken daily, called S.E.N.S.E.S. It is composed of constituents that are filed in folders, so that the capsule is easy to retrieve to help us all survive and thrive. Now, how this capsule works is that it needs to be stored in the most important tool, or in the most important toolbox of the human anatomy, that's the mind. S.E.N.S.E.S.S is a toolbox. It's a toolkit of 9 tools that need to replace the tools that have been uploaded in our subconsciousness, most especially in the first 7 years of our lives, up until the age of 35. In order for this capsule to work, S.E.N.S.E.S, you need to be prepared to let go of being right. That has to be the first attitude you bring on board. By that, I mean willing to let go of having to do it your own way. The reason is simple. Because the way over 90% of us have been socialized and trained is what has got us exactly where we are health-wise. If we want more of the same, okay, if we want more of the same that we are currently experiencing, then by all means, we ought to continue down that path. However, if we are not living in optimal health, then maybe it is time to consider a different way, a different approach. It is not a new way, it is just a different way that a lot of us are not aware of. I'm having the confidence to share this pill, this capsule, because it has worked for me and is working for me, and also so many thousands globally, putting this small percentage into a path of optimal health. Remember, I said there's a 0.1% of the global population that are enjoying extreme optimal health. That is because they're applying this capsule, this prescription drug that is not being prescribed by medical doctors in their lives. The concepts you're about to learn are simple, yet they are profound. They will make real changes for you and for your own tribe that you will also have. It is suggested that you put each of these 9 files, these 9 tools, or as many as you are in a position to do, into action in your life as quickly as possible, so that the knowledge can move into a physical, cellular level and create lasting and permanent change in your life. One of my mentors, they have Eka says, we are creatures of habits, and it's the doing habit and the not doing habit. Everything we are not doing right now, we are in the habit of not doing those things. And the only way we can change these not doing habits into doing habits is simple. Just do them. If we are truly serious about optimal health and wealth and having success in both, then we have to move from having just the knowledge to doing them. In my own case, using the S.E.N.S.E.S.S.E.S pills will help us to get to the point where we want to get to, both health and wealth wise. So if you want to create optimal health, you will need to believe and know that you cannot hand over the steering wheel of your health, of your life, into the hands of a medical practitioner, or in actual fact, anyone else. You will need to gain control of the steering wheel of your life and drive yourself to the destination that you want to get to. Do not buy into the lie that we are controlled by our genes. Now, I'm going to talk about this. That is a lie. Do not buy into that lie that we are controlled by our genes. Now, as a side step, I want to mention this. I'm going to expand more on this, okay, in the course of my series. But let me mention this now, since I mentioned genes. There are about only 7 single gene disorders that we have no control over. Just 7. And some of these, now I do stand to be corrected. Some of these are genes of cystic fibrosis, cerebral palsy, sickle cell, Down syndromes, Tay-Sachs. Tay-Sachs is very popular amongst the Jews. And also Huntington's disease. Okay, so there are 7 single gene disorders that trigger off one of these. Okay, now that means if you have these genes, then of essence you're going to experience, that means your blueprint will read out this particular ailment, like I've mentioned. So, but for the rest who claim to be affected by genes, we just cannot claim to have the cancer genes or diabetes genes passed down from our parents, or heart disease as being hereditary. I mean, because if we do that, then that will put us into the category of being a victim of the hereditary mindset. And that is a lie that we've been fed from when we were born up until the age of 7 and up until the age of 35. I'm going to explain why I'm actually categorizing us into those 2 brackets. We do have control over our genes. We have control over the expressions of our genes. And therefore, we have control over our health. What we need, and this is what I'm doing through my Geemashspeaks series, we need personalized medical education and data-driven medical nutrition. To that effect, it is part of my progressive plans to develop an app, okay, that we can all have access to, that will process personal input data that will help you to manipulate your own personal data to help you understand what your own current needs are in order to keep track and help improve your optimal health markers. Okay, that is going to be launched sometime soon. But in the meantime, I have come up with an acronym of 9 letters that will help me share the basic personally utilized indicators and tools that I have used over the last 3 years to reverse my personal health, my chronic illness or illnesses, and set me on the course of optimal health. And before I disclose these 9 tools, I mean, that is exactly what S.E.N.S.E.S.S.E.S is. I need to put out another disclaimer. Okay? If you are not ready to produce change in your life, if you're not prepared to put in the work, if you're not prepared to step into a life of optimal health, then you do not listen any further to my Geemashspeaks series. And I say this because I cannot and I will not be held responsible for your optimal health success. Okay, now I'm saying this on a very light note. I will not be held responsible for the new lease of life in you, the new energies, the new passion that you pick up. And I say this with due respect to you as my current audience. Within just 1 month of applying these pills, these S.E.N.S.E.S.S.E.S pills, these tools, your results will be success achieved by your own choices. I can say that and beat my chest and stand by my statement. So now I've put out that final disclaimer. Here are the 9 tools in my tool set kit. As you can see on the screen, it's S.E.N.S.E.S.S.E.S, 9 letters, 9 acronyms. You see the arrow at the top, S, the brown S. That stands for stress. What I'm going to explain in subsequent releases is what these 9 acronyms can do when you manipulate them in your life to give you results that will transform your health within the first month of application. So the first S there stands for stress. The second, or the next letter, the E, stands for exercise. I'm going to try and fly through. I want to try and finish this within the next 2-3 minutes. So it's a 40-minute recording. The N stands for nutrition. The second S stands for sleep. And E there stands for educate and empower. S stands for sunlight. Now in that bracket, I'm going to speak about sunlight and light. So it's sunlight, okay? The fourth, is it the fourth? Yeah, the fourth S stands for sex. And the third E, now this is a very controversial tool. It stands for epigenetics and eugenics. Okay? And then the last S, it's a accumulation of every of those tools. Brings you, brings myself, brings us all to the final S, success. Okay? So essentially, we are going to have new conversations as a result of the Geemashspeaks series. Okay? I have a passion to start a spark that will transform the lives of those who take time out to listen to what I have to say. I'm going to try and capture and put this into 5 minutes, 6 minutes clips. I know a lot of times we can't stretch ourselves so long. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the second of my release. It's me speaking about the toolkit I'm going to expound on over the next few months, over the next few years. It's going to culminate in me creating an app, like I've said, that will be customized for your own personal use to help improve your lifestyle. Thank you for taking time to listen to my rumble, if you will put it that way. Thanks for your audience, your attention, and look out for the next release, which will be me expounding on each of the elements of this new pill. It's not actually new, it's an existing pill being used by 0.1% of the global population and ends giving them optimal health. When you think good, you feel good. When you feel good, you do good. Come on now, guys. Thanks so much. God bless. Appreciate you guys. Cheers.